you've made your you made a jig so that you can stencil them things up real fast, right?
This was $15 from China with the boards. This stainless steel, it's right here. I brought this stainless laser cut stainless stencil, $15. Now there's $50 in shipping, but you know these boards were 15 of these, 4-layer gold immersion plating.
I like it. I like that color.
The red.
Yeah, most people don't have red boards. Red board from SparkFun. That's the only other one that I know of that goes red.
Did that include the welded aluminum frame?
Yeah, $15.
Wow.
15 of these. The frame, not the stencil or the squeegee. I have a frame that this goes into that allows you to put alignment pins down so you can reproduce the positioning on this, and then fine tune this. And then, and it's a lot easier. There's a few leadless parts on here, and like these guys right here. There's some power switching going on. Those are hard to do with the other ways.
That's amazing.
So they're just like
The U.S. $400. You're just like,
Yeah.
really, guys? I'd really rather buy you.
American, yeah.
Absolutely. It's no
Well,
longer.
because,
It's
you know,
3 versions old. It doesn't matter if you get
the real question is whether it's kind of like real stainless or some kind of.
You're right. There's a definitely not apple to apple quality,
Yeah.
but this is 3 generations old. I made my 15.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's it really depends on what you're using too, because I've noticed the Chinese stainless is a far cry from what I would consider.
I do keep it a climate controlled environment.
Yeah. Well, that's like, so I got like some stainless stuff that's rusty, and I'm like, wait, huh?
This is their international shipping packing material. I'm sure they used this piece of hardboard in some other manufacturing process.
Yeah.
The
That was the
laser cut die stopper on the other end. So they're cutting out all the parts and using that board as and then reusing the board to reinforce the shipment. That's kind of cool. Wish the company that did the one boards did something like that, because I got none of them. They stuck it
They
in like
get damaged.
well, so they stuck it in, instead of having something to protect the boards, they put it in like a bubble foam envelope,
wrap, yeah.
and it got stuck in a conveyor somewhere and ripped the side all out. So then all the boards came out. So, and instead of whenever it happened, and then they found it, took it out. They didn't even put tape over the hole. They just went ahead and shipped it half laid open. So I got the envelope.
I ordered a Nintendo cartridge, an old Game Boy cartridge, and the dude who shipped it to me had it just wrapped in a piece of cardboard like that. I have a feeling it got trapped in a machine somewhere, because it took 2 months to get to me.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I used to do work for RPS. I don't think they're in business anymore, but they were a package shipping company up in Chicago, and they had a tilt tray sorter that ran near the ceiling above the fluorescent lighting, and these packages would fall off, and they would stay on the lights until the light bulbs got changed. I mean, it was months.
That's funny.
Well, that's what I think happened with it was no bigger than a Game Boy cartridge,
Yeah,
you know.
So,
So it fell somewhere, and then all of a sudden somebody saw it and said, "Oh, maybe we ought to send that on." I'm like, that's interesting.
But yeah. Well, that's what threw me, is like when we test stainless at the shop, and it's like, it's rusty. Why the hell is it rusty?
That's not
It's
right.
like, it's Chinese. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Something's missing from the equation to be classed as stainless, I think. Like
It's not exactly
a
stainless.
couple percent nickel. But like I said, it does what it does. I mean, like you're saying, you know, when you're talking $385 difference, you know.
Now I've tried it without. I've tried some stencils that didn't have the frame, and if you were really good, you could use them. I found them pretty hard to work with.
Is it thin enough that you could put it in a screen frame with the I don't remember what they call it. Yeah. If you notch the corners, might be worth a try.
I'm kind of impressed with this goo they poured in here, right?
Yeah.
It's fairly.
And how tight it is.
Yeah.
That's.
And the duct tape, right? It's not quite duct tape, but it's pretty close to duct tape. But
it was a lot cheaper, and you got your $15 out of it.
I did. They're interesting to work with.
But did it come with virus?
Virus? Was it
Probably
infected?
not. It's been it was too long ago, right? You didn't get the Cordova virus with it.
Yeah, this was back in 18.
Well, that was bird flu then.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to see how serious this stuff is with that cruise ship that we know has 3,700 people on it.
So, round numbers. How many prints have you made off of this?
Well, I bought 15 boards,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one of them, so 14 maybe?
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing more production than that.
No, I
Okay.
don't, it doesn't make sense. We do prototyping. We did a dozen to put out in the field to get some field testing on
Mhm.
before we sent it off to contract manufacturing. I don't have automated equipment. You can't. It's too expensive to use people to do this.
I don't know. I did that for years.
Did you?
Mhm. Yeah, a long time ago, I soldered NASA spec and did a lot of work.
I
God.
bought Zephyrtronics equipment because of their NASA, their selection for NASA and reworking some of the satellite stuff. I was like, okay, I'm convinced.
I saw somebody do a reflow.
Mhm.
I guess it wasn't really reflow. He did flow just using a skillet and the
Ow.
top of his stove. I was fairly impressed with how he did it.
Yeah, this stuff is 138C. You could absolutely do it with a toaster oven on a skillet.
Yeah, I was fairly impressed. I was like, kind of gave hope to the rest of us who don't really have the equipment to do it.
Yeah.
You can do hot air for most stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what that's what my reflow oven says, or that's what the hot air gun says. It says it's a reflow oven, and I'm like, you're not actually an oven. You're more like a targeted hot air gun.
Yeah.
It's a rework station.
I have never used it for. I've never used. I bought it. It's that one that you bought.
I was gonna say I've used it for a lot of stuff. And
I've used the soldering iron for a lot of stuff, but I've never used the reflow station for anything.
I used it. We welded or soldered back together a copper eagle. That was very handy for that.
Copper Eagle?
Yeah.
It's a coin.
No, it was a weather vane,
Oh, okay.
and the wing had gotten ripped off or whatever, and copper kind of
Hard to solder.
Yeah, really hard. Never had really thought about it, but when you're talking about a copper eagle about yay big,
Huh.
wow, that's a chore.
I've got old roofing torches and irons.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
that's-
had known.
Yeah. Well, but that was the thing too. It wasn't solid.
Yeah. Oh no, I know.
So
But that's what roofing tools are for, is thinner copper. But
It's
literally a gasoline-powered torch.
yeah. Well,
There's a
that's-
lot of energy in gas.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying we kind of the dad had tinkered with trying to use a torch, and I was it blowing out a part of it, and I was like, yeah. It's like, here, let's try this. We got some nickel solder or something like that, and use that air reflow gun above it, and or the the torch or whatever, and sit there and put that on while I soldered, and it would melt the solder enough to fuse it back together. It worked out pretty good.
I had
They
a
were shocked we fixed it.
I had a stainless steel no stained glass soldering iron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Big-
those are about 90 watts.
Big, heavy, thick thing with big, heavy,
Oh, yeah.
thick solder. I don't know what happened to that. It was handy for a while, but not handy for doing
So
that kind of
I
stuff.
bought a soldering iron. It's yay. Has a heating element like this.
Mhm.
I don't know how big it is. It's 250, 400 watts, but it's for melting Teflon tubing, FEP, sealing. I did I don't know, a sphere, half sphere shaped custom thing, and then you run it on the end of the tube, and it seals it. It's good stuff. Put lots of temperature sensors in those.
Yeah. Well,
But you're holding your breath because the fumes.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it was like, they were talking about that the other day. Teflon's really bad.
that solder for those stained glass windows stunk up the place too. That was some nasty stuff.
Yeah, that's plumbing solder.
Yeah, it was
That's
nasty.
got-
It was nasty stuff.
It's got acid in it.
I made a couple of stained glass. I bought it from some auction somewhere and made a couple of stained glass windows and went, that's cool. Put it all up, and I have no idea where it is now, because it's not my thing. It's not really what I do.
That'd be fun to do that.
But I bet that soldering iron would have solved your soldering problem.
Mm-hmm.
No, we used a real big one. It wouldn't do shit until we had the heat gun.
Really?
Yeah.
We usually put hot air below the boards too. It makes the
Mhm.
work a lot easier.
Yeah, it was definitely a two-man operation. It was entertaining. Yeah, Dad burned up one of those big guns trying to do it, because you can only do them for like a minute at a time.
Mhm.
He didn't
Oh, you're talking like the Weller transformer
Like a
gun?
gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are awful.
Yeah, this thing that
It's
I've
like-
got's not a gun. It's a soldering iron.
Yeah.
It would have stayed hot.
So he went and got one of those others, and then it was probably bad from the store. And he went and got one of those high amp one things or whatever for like a minute at a time. But I can guarantee you he didn't do it for a minute at a time, because he burned that sucker up in a few minutes flat. Trying to do it all in one shot. That's what I'm guessing he did. By the time I involved me in it, it wouldn't even get hot enough to melt the solder anymore. Yeah.
I was waiting to see if Vicente or anybody else showed up.
Can we follow
Don't
the
do
ping
it.
pong ball yet?
No, I forgot to bring the face too, so I found that out in the thing. See if I forgot to bring my little face.
Got a different camera on there now.
Do what?
Isn't that a different camera?
That is a different camera.
Does it work better?
In theory.
I see.
Actually, it does. It does. You want to see it?
Have you settled on your wheel alignment?
Who you gonna shoot first with it?
I'm happy with the wheel alignment. Hey, it sees you.
That was deliberate.
Actually, the camera's
I was
on.
waiting for it to go.
Let's see. Let's see if we can charge everything up. Camera's not on. Hey, where are you going? Stop. Where are you going?
Okay, so it's lit up red at the moment.
Yeah, which... Turn that sucker around and send that thing back to me. Let's see if we can charge it.
It doesn't mind its own.
It's looking for green. It's turning pretty good though.
I don't think the camera's actually on. Because the thing's not on.
Did you find a...
So I
Little
went
thing.
to look for ARMs.
Mhm.
The only distributions I found were running 64-bit ARMs and not 32-bit ARMs.
Okay.
Previously they had done 32 bits, but that's been discontinued. It seemed.
I'm surprised that the 32 wouldn't still be out there.
Well, it's out there. So if you get into having to do your own bootloader and compile your own kernel, you take up a lot of work. And we've done it, and I know better now.
Not your first rodeo, is what you're
It's my
saying.
second. I'm trying to apply some. It's a volume thing. If you want to make it as cheap as possible, and you're making tens of thousands, okay. If you're making 200, 300 a year, forget about it.
I'm gonna let it charge for a few minutes. The camera has a battery. It takes a lot more power than that other camera. This has a battery. This has a battery. Everybody has a battery. Everybody's battery. I'm seeing all four of the faces. That's a good sign.
This is the upgraded camera.
It is the upgraded camera. The only thing I really had to do to it, it's pretty much the same program. I turned the LCD back on so I could see what it actually sees, and I lowered the brightness because it seemed like even in low light it was overly bright, like to the saturation point of almost not seeing anything. It was so bright.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's all in Chinese.
It's all in Chinese.
Yeah, the label. And dimensions.
It takes about 3 days from the time DHL ships, acknowledges receiving it until it shows up. And it shows up in the morning.
That's not bad.
Before lunch, at least. You go order. I can order these boards and order DigiKey and get ground shipping. Everything shows up at the same time. It's crazy.
I had something shipped from China via DHL, and first time I did it, it showed up in about 3, maybe 4 days. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I could live with that because it wasn't that much. I mean, shipping was really inexpensive. Second time I did it, for whatever reason, it went to DHL Germany. And it was in the German hub for a good month before it went somewhere else. And then it went somewhere else. And eventually it made it over to the US hub and it was there the next day. I'm like,
The roundabout route.
why would you go from
China to Germany.
China to Germany? I get DHL's a German company, but why did you do
Probably in
that?
a German warehouse surplus.
Either that or they just threw it in the wrong box and it went to the wrong place in the first place.
Could have been that too.
Somebody think about doing the census stuff?
Wrong plane.
No, I needed the faces.
You wanted pictures.
I wanted the faces.
You wanted a good diversity, no doubt, of faces.
That's what happens when I forget my little face. My little dude. Let's see if we're charged up enough. Alright. We'll back you up a little bit. See if we might have to hold you back a little. And we will turn you on, and we will turn you on. Hey. Hey, you saw a face? There you go. You good? Oh, you're confused because there's too many faces.
It's a big world.
Aha! Dun dun dun! We finally focused on one face and got there. So he's got a little outline around it.
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah, I think the camera died again because it should have.
Updated.
There I am. Oh.
Detonation imminent.
Which face are you looking at? There we go.
I choose you to draw over.
Oh yeah, we're confused. There's too many faces. It's working. It's working.
The web.
I think it's working a little bit better than the other one, but it's my own personal opinion.
It's definitely working better, it looks like.
As long as your face sits there.
So, I was showing a buddy the Boston Dynamics robots. He hadn't seen them before. And one of the links came up with like 5 unbelievable new robots or whatever. And they had, I can't remember what a couple of them were. There was, oh, I know, there was a spider bot that would turn into a ball.
Cool.
And then it would like stick out 2 legs and then use that as its propulsion. So like it only had to do this, like as it rolled, you know. So it was like low energy and had to, you know, roll like a. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, he'd probably travel pretty far on a charge. I was like, oh, that's kind of slick. And then another one was a fox bat. Like they show it, it looks like a bat and it's hanging upside down on the thing, and they like. It lets go and spreads its wings and starts flapping around and flies around this big auditorium and it looks like a bat.
Cool.
I was like, that's kind of spooky. And I was impressed that they could actually mimic the wings. I mean, other than the fact it looked like the wings were all bubble wrap. You know, if they'd paint that up like a light brown or black or something, you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. And especially from any distance. And then one of the other ones that was really shocking was butterflies. They literally, like, all it was is like they had this little metal pin, like a long toothpick, and then like had a little bitty square on the back end, which was, I don't know if it's like the motor and the battery pack or whatever for it, but they were butterflies, and they'd have them. They had like artificial intelligence in them where you could make them swarm, and they would fly in patterns with each other.
Nice.
And they were just, I mean, flopping around this big old room, and I was like, but I mean, other than, you know, if you're 30 feet back, you wouldn't have known it was fake.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that little, like, I don't know if it was an antenna rod that just sticks out back there and had that little bitty square thing on the back of it. But I mean, it just looked like it was like a toothpick that held those wings together. Slick as dirt. But there was one or two others, but I can't really remember what they were. But that just to be a flying robot that was a butterfly.
And this is butterfly size?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, like I was saying, if it wasn't for like the like you could tell when they, or at least from the camera, because the rods were about this long, or whatever they were using for the mechanical things to mimic the wing pattern and the battery source or whatever. I mean, there was nothing else on it that made it look like it was fake. And then they were talking, and it showed like it's like if we can do patterns, and they like come together and like interact like butterflies would.
DARPA?
I don't even think it was a DARPA project. It was just somebody really messing with. Well, I mean, I guess it could have been.
Well, no, I don't know if
sensors
that
and
one
stuff,
was.
but
DARPA, I think DARPA had some insect size.
yeah, I knew they did like the dragonfly and another one or two, but it was like this didn't say anything about DARPA. But like I said, the bat, I mean, that was freaky. I mean, because that thing, I mean, it was probably about this big, hanging off the
Looked like a bat.
rod. I mean, it looked just like a bat, but like I said the whole body was made out of like some kind of bubble wrap looking material. But when they like let it go and it drops off and lets go of that stick they were holding it with or whatever, and it swirls out and like flew around like a real bat. I mean, it was,
I'm gonna have to invest in a shotgun, I can see.
well, but that's, but I mean, it didn't make next to any sound.
Yeah.
The butterfly ones didn't make any sound at all. I mean, those were slick. I said those was probably the neatest thing I've seen in quite a while. But I was like, that's just freaky if you start thinking about. Yeah. Put in fox bat.
Laser powered?
Sure, transfer energy to it. You don't need as big a battery pack.
No, I mean these look like a real bat.
It's pretty convincing to me.
Those look like real bats.
Yeah, those are real bats.
That sort of looks like a real bat. He's Batman.
I was shocked that there wasn't any modern video though of the Boston Dynamics stuff I could find.
I've seen a lot of their stuff over the years.
Yeah. Well, it was the same. The newest thing I could find was from 2018 when I was trying to show him. And I was like, that one's kind of freaky. I was like, well, they've had 2.5 more years since then. I was like, what's it do now?
The Drinking Bird one was 2019, and at the same time that came out, they had one. And those were fairly late. Those were October or November.
Really?
I don't know what to call it, but it was a bird-looking thing with wheels and a suction cup, and it was doing pick and place for boxes.
Oh, yeah.
Greetings.
No coffee.
No
I
problem.
know. What's up with that? I was like, went to get my hot chocolate, and it's like, denied. Still got 70 cents for nothing. What scares me though is like if their big dog or is it the little dog?
Spot, the little one.
Spot's awesome.
Spot's freaky. Put on a
Especially with the hand.
robot?
Do I? Yeah, I want this robot. I'd be happy to work on that one for a while.
Have you seen the? I think it's a robot kit.
Can I be anyone?
It's open source.
What is it?
Robot kit.
Yeah.
So big.
So,
That's one I was interested in.
yeah.
Kitten box.
Spoiler board.
There's one on Kickstarter right now, but
Nice if you're
it's
gonna
like
raise
$700, and I'm like,
melts it once
I
you-
am not spending
So you know, low
$700.
temper.
Yeah, that's
it's
a
lead
lie.
free stuff.
Mm.
And then so,
I think I bought this also.
You
Low
tried this
temperature,
stuff
yes. But I don't like how it looks.
it isn't
It
as
looks like
shiny.
it's the lights or something. It looks different. After
It's not as shiny.
I'm also opposed
So
to
yeah, this
kitten.
$15.
I would much rather have a dog bod than a
15.
kitten bod.
with the
Well,
with the front.
So I'm
Frame?
thinking like the robot from
China?
Transformers, the Panther.
this,
I mean,
PCB
put a couple guns on one each
Then I've
shoulder,
got a
you know,
stencil machine. This goes
run in
in
and just shoot
that
blow everything
aligns the
down.
things,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, I know. I used to make a
shirts that way.
for my climbing club.
Okay.
We did our own stencils.
Let's see if you can find the butterflies video on YouTube.
Great, wow. Are you already tried it?
Oh, yeah. That's a few generations old.
And this is a very small beings, right? There are different.
The size of the solder
Sizes,
balls,
yes.
you can get it in different sizes.
Huh? This is smaller than the
Those blue ones
bigger
are the
one.
ones
It's
I
not,
was
it's not a bigger
watching.
one. It's what number? Well, usually the price is related with this, with the size of this small balls.
Is this related to the Festo up by Kings Island?
I don't know. But that's what they were all branded Festo robots. That's what now that you mention it.
What do you have here?
So you've got processor, PoE module, serial interface for receiving.
Those look quite a bit bigger than butterflies.
Power for
It's more like a moth.
this guy. There's a bunch of hardware. There's another
I'll say
array
that.
of boards.
Perspective, there was one video I was watching there, you couldn't really tell how big they were because it was just a lot further back.
That's the bottom board here, fully stuffed. And then, so what's this board on top has 8 relays that you can control and interface to walking towers. So these are remote data collection devices.
That was kind of cool.
I did telemetry devices
Mhm.
20 years ago for
That's
other
what the other one
companies
was, a kangaroo.
using telephone lines, DSL. I made everything inside a PVC pipe
Okay.
to avoid the thieves that used to take everything from the oil pumps because they are spread all in the field,
Okay.
close to small towns in Venezuela. I designed this pipe that can withstand bullets, and they work pretty well. They were in clothes, and they work perfect. They were
That's
charged all the
cool.
pumps of the oil
I
pump.
was gonna say, I was really impressed with it for
I have some experience with that.
It's like a
I did a huge amount of PC boards all my life. A lot of products. Some of them I sold them in millions devices, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Manufactured in China, of course.
Unfortunately, yes. There we go. There's Altium. That's the Altium handling of this stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. It has a very,
Jellyfish.
very hard learning tool. It's because it's huge software. Of course, it can be anything, but after
This annoys me. See this big resistor here? That is all about dumping power off the PoE. Yeah. if you don't draw 100 milliamps all the time, the PoE will turn the power off to you. So we just dump energy there. PoE spec was written long ago.
Leroy, I bring the monster.
Did you bring the thing?
Yeah. This is one of the boards that Leroy showed 2 weeks ago. I bought it in Amazon for $32 or something, but shipping next day. And then I start to deal with all the Python stuff. And after a while, I am doing something now. I'm trying to understand all the OpenCV is the libraries for
For the vision.
vision. Yeah, but there are guys that create the OpenMV, that is for machine. It's almost the same, but smaller libraries. Maybe faster for microcontrollers, and they use you can use I/O, PWM control, and everything. It's like this board use all the machine vision library, and also you can use all the pins to control whatever you want, and you share your power between the camera and the image processing and your robot or whatever you want to do. I just use my one pan until servo assembly. I am only using the pan servo, and the other cables are there just for demonstration, because I wanted to identify this April marks are a kind of mark that can be identified. It doesn't matter the rotation you do. It has a combination of squares that self-correct the code. You have here 4 by 4, 16 squares, but you only can represent 50 numbers because of the redundancy you are looking for. You have less combination than the 16 bits. 16 bits produce 64,000 combinations, but this tag only can represent 50 values because there is correction, and there is also is immune to the rotation. Doesn't matter what position you do, you have always the same number, and you sacrifice combinations. Okay, the library lets you identify the April tags or QR codes or colors or faces, or you can classify objects, identify objects, whatever. You can identify lines in your image, circles, squares. You can decide to organize them from the bigger to the smaller, choose whatever you want, ask for the size of the bigger one. It's amazing what can you do with it. I made some experiments, and I want to show what I did with this. I had no time to put the software in another computer to use the HDMI because it's nice to see the interface. I am with a computer that when I tested has no battery. Then I need to plug in. Lately, yesterday I did the same with Raspberry Pi and the Raspberry Pi camera with a webcam of $2, a very tiny. I did the same with the Raspberry, and once you understand one of the hardware and Python stuff, you can do it with your computer, with a Raspberry Pi, with a Linux computer, with this board that is It's like a tiny like Linux system. This is the cheapest one. This thing cost free shipping, 19 bucks from China. This the camera with the microcontroller, and if you want the TFT display, it will be 6 additional bucks. But you can have the image that the camera is detecting simultaneously in your display connected. Here there are 2 connectors. One is for the camera, the other one is for the display.
It's a bigger display. I didn't bring mine. It's a bigger display than that.
Yeah,
It's,
they have 2 sizes,
Yeah.
2.4 and 3.2, I think.
yeah.
Inches.
There you go. That's the rendering of that stuffed. Okay.
I was with my son in the UC, bringing him some stuff, and almost didn't make it. I came to home and tried to put everything together.
I didn't bring my little guy. I didn't bring the little guy with his face, so I had to.
Okay. You already showed that, or
Yeah, but we can do it again.
my presentation is relatively fast.
Mine was pretty fast too. I let it do its
You
thing.
can do it while I turn on.
While you turning on everything.
I need half an hour for Windows to load up.
There's a cure for that.
No, this computer is
Damn.
from 2011.
Analytics.
But I changed the disk drive with a solid state one, and wow.
Yeah,
sounds
that is an
very
amazing
Dun, dun,
difference.
dun.
I like it. But it doesn't have HDMI. It's a problem to
Yeah, I-
presentations.
I have a Lenovo.
We only have the HDMI interface right there.
I was going to do that with the other day. I was going to turn it into a portable MB box.
Mhm.
I loaned to somebody and was like, oh, no HDMI port. Well, that looks like a good sacrifice for a hacker box. It's not
I've
going
been
to
picking up the older X1 carbons for like $350 on eBay. They run Linux great.
Yeah. I got this. That Lenovo was for free.
Free's good.
But it,
Yeah.
basically like HP's version of the Precision. So I said I was really shocked it didn't have an HDMI on it.
It likes that guy's face. It went to that guy's face twice.
I have a lot of
How it's working?
5 or 6 other Dells have HDMI on it, so I did that with it. It's just like Windows.
I'm not real sure
licenses
why
are
it
all
takes so long to
Dell
reset.
boxes. I don't for the Lenovo.
Okay.
It went to this guy's face, didn't it?
Laptop the other day.
It likes that guy's face.
You can choose
Drive.
to
Never boot Windows on it.
who to kill.
Yeah.
And most of these are UC laptops, so they
It's working
Work from
really well
university?
though.
I just buy from their auctions.
This camera works way
Or they
better than
put
that
it on-
other camera.
They do it through Gov.
Yeah,
Deals now. It's not
it's
good.
better camera.
Whoever's working down there guts all the RAM and stuff out of them, and I don't trust it much.
Same guy. It really doesn't like that guy. It's going to get that guy.
Well, it's that guy's they're at the right height to be dead center to.
Okay, so he suggested.
The other two are too low once it gets up close.
Once it gets up close, yeah. It really can't make up its mind until it gets a little closer to who it wants to kill. So
Okay, this program is.
Because they got a bunch of stuff. Did everybody go in the Innovation Hub room down there and see what they have?
yeah. Yeah, I was going.
When's the laser training again?
You probably missed it.
Again?
It's Saturday
Is it
or Friday. Friday.
Friday?
I don't know what day
Pretty
it
busy
is.
Friday.
This code is the QR detector. There is a RGB LED here. You can turn on and off each LED, create combinations. I just write down three names, one each QR code, and when you show the QR code, it will turn on the LED, red LED here.
Red.
You see?
Here. It says it up there in your screen somewhere too, right?
I put it in the screen in the message or the QR code.
Oh,
You see?
good,
You
yeah.
see?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the blue,
Blue.
blue and the green. Green, right?
So
Simple, but it's
he
interesting.
got the QR codes to work.
It's interesting. Okay, now let's check the tag. I am using the position of the tag in the screen to move the servo to that position. I made a mapping between the angle of the servo and the width of the screen. It's another program. I did a bunch of programs. This is servo track. Okay.
That program, with very few changes, if any at all, would run on this camera too, since they well, they're using the same. They've got a different camera sensor, but they're using the same processor. So the code is relatively the same, or pretty much the same.
You see?
Yeah. Just one step away from putting a little turn on that sucker, and we're good to go.
In the screen, how where is the
Biggest thing that would have to change is probably the pin numbers.
huh?
If we took that code and stuck it over here, we'd probably have to change pin numbers. So there's only 2 I/O on this.
I understand.
It's all right. We don't need to do
We can connect this to your. I thought that.
Yeah.
But you need to move the files, or download it to the.
we don't have to worry about that right now.
Well, we can see the code. It's interesting to see the code because this is the only thing that we will be seeing there. Okay, another test I did was to identify the angle of the tag, because we are trying to use a follower robot, and then the leader can turn in front of the follower, and after a while the mark will disappear, but the follower knows that the leader turned and disappear in this direction. We can use this information to go forward and to continue in a corner, to continue the leader, to follow the leader. This is another example.
guys are making a robot parade?
Sure.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We only have one actually working.
Yes.
There were a bunch that got passed out the other day.
Well,
These are, I'll find a picture of.
I have to register it in the Westchester Parade. They do those periodically.
What's that, robot parades? Oh, yeah?
Well, they just have regular parades. I'm surely they'll let your robots in.
Regular robot, yeah. Oh, I didn't know because some of the schools have robot clubs.
They do.
Yeah,
Well-
Lakota and there's 2 or 3 others around town. Moeller and
We were, when we were at the Trenton Library this past week, we were actually asked if we wanted to put a demonstration on for people, so, like, I don't
I didn't find there is a calibration program in the Raspberry Pi that you put in front of the camera something like a chess table, a chess board, and you move it in all directions and take pictures, like 30 pictures, and you run the calibration, and then the camera knows exactly how the distortion of the real world is, and
Oh, cool.
it corrects the image, to estimate the exact position of a mark in the space and the angle. You have 3 dimensions and three rotation angles to know exactly where the object is in the space, and this is used for augmented reality when you want to put something over another object. For example, there is an example that you have a cup of tea or something over a tag, and you move it, and the cup just follow all the time like it is over your tag, and it changes the size when you move close or further, and it's amazing how it works. It's just know exactly the position and the orientation of the mark, and create the 3D shape and put in the same place than the mark in the image in real time.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Somebody just released new augmented reality glasses. I swear I read that last couple of days.
Was it Oculus?
I could have, I don't know who it was. Facebook, Google, Microsoft, one of them.
There were ads during the Super Bowl for AR glasses. Firemen were using them in smoke-filled rooms.
That's
I don't remember who was pushing them, but
That
Oh, which
sounds
one
like
was it? I can't remember what they even worked on, but it was like
FLIR.
no, it wasn't.
They're like a rectangle green screen that they have cameras on them that are going back to a processor and then giving them a room, like VR dimensional room so they can see people through walls and
Yeah.
whatnot. I forget what they were
Sounds-
using as a vision system though.
That sounds like what I saw FLIR working on something like that.
I can see them doing that.
I don't know if it was microwave or
This is 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. So it's still it's not right, but it's closer. And it's the only video I've got that sort of kind of shows what we're doing. And it's not a great video because I was trying to do this by myself.
When you want to put the gun turret on, let me know.
Just saying it stands, about 2 foot tall?
But you have pictures with your side. I sent you the last picture I sent you.
Yeah.
You are in front of it, standing.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that picture. Well, where am I at? What am I doing? Somebody do something. Somebody do something soon. It's boring.
So there's software that
There.
lets you trim video.
I thought it was a picture, not a video.
Hey, I said I was trying to do it all by myself. I was sitting there. 2-3 weeks ago, I was at the library by myself. Mark was sick. Vicente had stuff that he had to do. So I turned the camera on and just left it on.
Excellent.
Because I wanted people to see what I was doing. Or try to see what I was doing.
Something like your QR.
Yeah, this may not be the right video either.
And what is it, the Roku merger? You can get some t-shirts made with the Roku markers, see how much we can mess them up when we get
There we go. Maybe it'll do something. Bye. Anyway, I'm off camera somewhere. It's supposed to be following me with one of those markers. And then I should walk back into frame. Can hear it
So
doing
years ago, I saw him selling a thing to carry your golf clubs. You put this clip on your belt, and it would follow you around the golf course.
Yeah.
I've never saw one in person.
I can only imagine that as a goat. It holds back, weeds, runs right into it.
As you bend over.
Yep.
I can do that down at the farm field. Except it's not a goat. Boom.
Yeah, that's a little harder to deal with. Growing up, we had a goat named Bruce. One day, my dad's building my mom a flower bed.
Ooh.
Bends over and Bruce comes up. Wham! Dad was pissed. He picks up a 2x4, walloped the goat on the head, and the goat goes, yeah, and started chasing him. Dad hit that goat probably 10 or 12 times, and it didn't. The goat's like, oh, that's fun. Okay.
Yeah, let's add some more. You thought you were playing.
Is that a network switch sitting up on top?
USB hub.
Oh, okay.
Ta-da! Bullfire. You need a red.
So there's like 3 things that need power, and it's just easier to
Mhm.
do USB. It was still, at that point, it was still
What,
tracking too far to one side.
What's the resolution of the Jaguar there? 64?
640 by 480. I think, though, based on what we did this past week, Mark has decided that the camera angle,
Uh-huh.
being only 60 degrees, is a problem.
And he wants to buy another one? 90 degrees or what?
I don't. Yeah, he wants 90 degrees. I don't know. I'm just here. I just.
One thing, this camera is working in QQ.
QQ, yeah.
VGA. This is
QQVGA.
120 by 100, no, 160 by 120 pixels. It's a very tiny image because the memory is a problem. The RAM is small, and the resolution is very, very small. This camera is working for 4 times this, right?
Yeah.
More. Is full VGA. This is 1/8 of VGA.
Yeah.
It's 8 times more resolution
And it's
in the camera of the video.
the April. It's something to do with the April markers being memory resourcing,
Yeah.
memory hogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's cheap, but you have limitations. You have a limitation in the distance. If you want to have a mark far, you need a bigger one to continue controlling.
I like it. This one, when I was doing the April markers, I had to set it to QQ VGA too, because of memory.
Both share the same microcontroller, the same memory, almost everything, the same IDE. It's the same machine.
Pretty much.
Maybe the camera may be a little different, but it's the same thing.
The screen's smaller and the camera
And
is
you have more
a different
IOPs
camera.
here, but it's the same.
Which difference in camera resolution?
Anyway, I like that.
Well, most of these laptops have cameras on them.
Yeah,
And lots of RAM.
yeah.
The people that design what they copy the interface from the people from
OpenMV.
design an interface. The people who made the camera H7 camera
They-
that cost a lot. That is
Yeah, yeah.
60 bucks or something. They create this another interface, and the people that made this camera also create another interface, but it's almost the same interface, open source, and they change the colors and some names, but it's because it's open source, you can just adapt a little bit, but they have all the same functionality, the same look.
And that the April tags that I was using the OpenMV software. So you just had to make it work with that camera.
Then you can move the software from.
It's the same. It's
almost-
the same. It's just almost the same.
And OpenMV is a compact version of OpenCV. You almost can just translate everything. You sacrifice resolution, speed, and maybe functionality, but it's the same libraries, the same way of using them. Once you understand one, you can move from one camera to another pretty easy. This is the camera. This is the people of OpenMV, right?
Yeah,
But
that's
this camera costs 4 times this one.
yeah. It's $65.
But now they have a new version with more memory, more speed. That is interesting, but it's expensive. It's more expensive. But
I'm actually
it's not as fast as the one.
yeah.
So what's actually being written in Python here? Just the logic you're adding, or some of these libraries?
Excuse me.
The our cameras are running MicroPython. So whatever
Cameras are using Python.
yeah, whatever program we need to write, we write it in.
Well, this is the relationship between OpenCV and OpenMV is that the CV use Python and the MV use
MicroPython.
MicroPython.
So
This is the
that
Python
IDE that
slider.
he's got opened up is the OpenMV MicroPython IDE for that camera. So you're writing your software in Python and it's running on the camera. So you
have an SD card where you load all the libraries and the Python interpreter in the camera. You just write a text file, download the text file, and the interpreter and everything is already in the camera. That's why it's so fast to just move anything you do to the camera. And you have a 115 baud serial connection, and the image goes to your computer in a very compressed fashion. You go close. It's not the real resolution. It's like some kind of JPG format or something. When I draw
Doing video compression.
when I draw a red square in the image, if you use a TFT screen, you see a bit of dots made in the red square. But there you almost don't see the red square. You need to change the width of the line a lot to see there the line, because you lose a lot of details in the serial communication. You can increase the file, but you will lose frame rate because the camera is spending time sending the image to your computer, and it's not used. The image is not used for the processing. It's just to show you what's going on in the camera.
Mine's it's a white box. But
Exactly, and you see the pixel, the white.
so if you look at Barry,
The light weight of 1 pixel. Well, if you do that in this screen, you cannot see the white line. You see like flashes of
Steve,
white
look
things.
at me. I'm looking at
It's not
Barry.
stable.
I have a white box around
For
Barry's
example,
head.
I made
Poor Barry.
here-
I'm a
Poor
C
Barry.
guy, guys. If you want to make it run faster.
There's I'm not using an SD card on this one. There's a small flash partition inside of these cameras that you can save the boot Python file to, and then it'll just boot right to it every single time. So it's running the facial rec.
Just power up and run it.
Well, it's actually running a little bit more because it also has to say, move this way or move that way. But it's basically the facial rec. So
Well, this code is drawing a green cross in the center and a red square around of the tag. You see? Well, I will change the size of the line of the square to show how color. The name of the.
look here, China is shut down right now.
Yeah.
China's closed. Don't come here.
Yep.
Shipping is paused.
Yep.
We gotta keep on it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. I'd be kind of antsy about ordering something in a plastic bag from China. Oh, what did I get? It smells funny.
Well, that was one of the jokes the other day, is that people ordering face masks to protect against the coronavirus, and then you realize that they're coming from China. It's like, wait a minute.
Have you not seen the meme? The Simpsons predicted this 15 years ago. They
Most things. No, I haven't seen this one.
it was South Korea, but some epidemic broke out in South Korea in the Simpsons world, and everything that got shipped had the virus inside of it.
Nice.
Same, different. What has the Simpsons not predicted?
They have a very high success rate.
I think over time, people will start imitating the Simpsons, not the other way around.
Always just kind of wondered, what was that project called? What was a TV show about them being able to go back in time so many days?
There's been several of them.
Yeah, we'll start with Land of the Lost and
Yeah,
Time
what I was
Tunnel.
gonna say, you know,
Tunnel.
it's like, oh, let's just watch our video. What happens in like 5 years from now? We'll make cartoon episodes
You have
of
the
it.
Find Faces code there.
I don't think
Box
so.
up scripts, send them
Oh.
back every 5
did.
years, and then go back. You know, leapfrog it back another
This
decade
code
and a half
that
and
made
make a
the
cartoon
code
of
that
it.
we're using now.
Yeah, I don't think I got it on this computer.
Because there is
I see-
a
I see,
parameter in the draw square that you can change the width of
Commentary
the line.
on
I
quantum
don't know.
entanglements and them sending information faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if I
So
buy any of that.
size,
but-
size.
Like,
I don't- I'm not sure.
Let me try the size.
I don't think I've got.
Deja Vu, where they could send text. They were able to send paper back or whatever before he jumps in the machine and sends himself back. You know, 4 days.
You know, tachyons move so fast that they move backwards in time. So everything that's happened, and if you can feel the tachyons, you know it's going to happen. Yeah, that makes sense.
No size.
Well, you know, Tesla built some funny stuff. If somebody figured out how to feed that out to a monitor screen.
What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here. Anyway, I think my thing of bringing up that the library might have wanted us to do something. I need ideas, and other people can come and play robots with us if they want. I don't have it. I don't have the.
Let's try to get Scott from the R2D2 club. Have him bring his R2D2 over. I'd like to build one of those. Somebody wants to pitch in with $30,000 or $40,000.
yeah, it's a little outside of my budget.
Depends on
I
how
haven't been
many-
able to get anybody to give me a quote for that part, by the way. I did look at some hydroforming.
Mhm.
That seems to be the right stuff, but they're like,
So how thick does it need to be? What kind of pressure are you trying to sense?
oh, 2 cubic yards of concrete. I don't really know how much pressure that is on the side of
No.
the vessel, but it's significant.
Well, how
I was
deep?
going with 15 gauge, which was 70 mils
Look.
thick.
Mhm.
I changed the thickness of the line.
Yeah.
No, you can see.
But that may be too thick, because I need to measure the temperature on the other side of it too.
And you're trying to measure the pressure?
Presence, which I'm trying to get it determined by pressure, and temperature.
Temperature's easy.
But when you make it too thick, you get a delay.
Yeah, but concrete has quite a bit of thermal mass and can bring that probe up to temperature.
Yeah, it's sitting down at the bottom of a pump hopper.
Hmm. Honestly, your pressure is going to be low. I would do a rubber diaphragm.
You can put rubber up to concrete that's
Yeah, you can. That's what those pumps that take it up floors and floors. Those have rubber linings on them. Metal gets worn away. It's abrasive, but rubber, the particles just roll across it. Rubber doesn't get abraded by concrete nearly as badly as metal does. I think I would go with one of the low pressure, because your pressure really isn't that deep.
No, it's not that deep.
2 feet deep or so in concrete. You actually need something that's pretty sensitive, and the viscosity. I mean, if it's a dry mix, that's going to throw your.
It's not going to be too
pressure.
dry for pumping, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
And the way I mix concrete, it'll be high. Damn, too much water. But look into diaphragms for sludge pumps. They're cheap, they're available, they're big enough that you can actually put a linear potentiometer on them to measure your pressure. They don't conduct heat particularly well, but yeah.
I don't want to be the bullseye.
Bang, bang. No, this one's just showing the frame rates.
Oh, yeah, 5 and 6 frames a second. You got 7 there once.
Ooh. Yeah, but my average is about 6. So. But if we wanted to change something, and we stop the program running, and we start the program again.
Is that the entire program right there?
To show frame rates, yeah.
So QQEGA bunch of
So
frames.
I decreased the frame size, so now you see it's all pixely.
So this is quarter VGA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So half of that.
it's small.
Half of half.
Half of half.
How well does it read a Roku marker at that point then?
Actually, it reads the April tags pretty well at that point. This is the IDE that complained about every little thing I did, though. You put too many spaces, it complains. Not enough spaces, it complains. You could go. You could see the frame rate when it was quarter VGA. The frame rate jumped up to 9.
Try going with grayscale.
And if you went VGA, now you'll see that your frame rate drops down to like
Actually,
1.
that's not bad.
3.
Yeah, it's 4s.
Yes, but what if you got a grayscale? Will that go up so?
How do we go grayscale?
I think you
Like
replace
grayscale.
RGB 565 with grayscale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We could do that. Freaking spell.
So 4 is where it is.
If you see
It's
in
right at
purple,
4.
Purple means that it's in the database.
Still about 4.
It didn't make much of it.
What about the speed, the frames?
It may have gone up a little bit.
Still about 4. Yeah, it didn't really change it all that much. It just made it made the video easier for us to see it, not for it to see it. I think it'll go even higher. I think it'll go to SVGA and
What happens if you go to QQQ?
Give it down to 2 by 3 pixels. It's really fast. But no idea what's there.
Turn off this comment the
14.
Oh, that is ugly.
You can't see anything, but it's,
that's Barry's head.
14 and a half.
No, you need to change a variable as false, but I don't remember which one. Just
To make that.
to remove the image.
Oh.
it leave more time for the camera to process
Oh.
frames.
Yeah.
No.
I don't see it.
Oh,
No, it's-
you
it's
could
a-
probably
it's a-
just
it's a
comment
switch. I
out
don't remember the
the
name of
LCD
it.
display line.
Yeah. I don't think that. I think that's the one that deals with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that take off the overhead.
No, this is the LCD there. Well, maybe it's faster also.
$20. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not printing to the LCD. So it jumped from 14 to almost 30.
You just gotta take the queue off to get back to where we can make
And you
something
need
out.
to go back.
No
to
more queues.
Q and
No more
RGB.
queues. That's a pretty bad queue. It jumped up to 17, 16.
Okay.
This is showing the average though, so the average is closer to 10.
I don't see it. I don't see how that averages to 10.
Me either.
Overall, maybe. From all the numbers it's processed, maybe.
Yeah,
It's going up slowly.
I
It's-
mean,
it's a-
I saw it as high as 20 a second ago, so I'm not sure how the average is staying at 10. That doesn't.
Yeah, it's going down.
To go. Got a super VGA. You know, because it's so super.
No.
4.
The camera doesn't have this resolution.
Yeah.
It feels with garbage, whatever.
Well, it does say it's only 320 by 240, so.
It's 800 by what? You change?
Yeah, I changed it.
Back to VGA. So what you're saying is we need to steal Jim's new 5 megapixel camera.
No. If I wanted to run this program every time it starts, though, it's saved to the boot Python or boot blah blah blah, and it would save it, and then every time that camera started, it would run this program for no apparent reason. Because it's I don't care about saving that. I need to shut down because it's about 10 till so. So.
This time